everybody, to another episode of the TPT Podcast, the TPT Podcast, the TPT Podcast. Welcome back into another episode of the TPT Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jaden Lawler. You guys are about to get the schedule release. I know that released last Thursday in the NFL, but we're kind of going over it now here on the TPT Podcast. We're going over that and what's been kind of going on this offseason with some of the Chiefs players and maybe some of the controversy or some of the actual controversy that's going on in Kansas City, and just kind of the feel going into kind of the summer with the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys are probably wondering, where is Zach? Zach is actually going to be in the next slide. He's going to be doing the next part of the schedule. So I'm going to be only breaking down the first 8 games. Zach will be doing the next 9. But if you guys are wondering, why has the episodes kind of been here and there on the podcast recently? As you guys know, as some of you may know, I have kidney disease, kidney failure. So I'm kind of navigating through that, trying to get you guys episodes when I can. Closer and closer when the season starts, we're going to go back to original times, Tuesdays and Fridays. So you guys will get your episodes on Tuesdays and Fridays. But until then, we're going to be releasing them as we come about this season. Thought I'd rock my Eric Berry jersey right now as we kind of bring maybe some good luck as I talk about this schedule. But let's get in the schedule. We'll talk about some of the off-field stuff going on afterwards. So when the schedule came out, I didn't know who they were going to schedule for week 1. I didn't know if it was going to be a team they kind of played in the playoffs, a big game, 49ers. I didn't think it would be the Niners because we already knew they played them on the road. I'm sorry if I keep reaching, guys. I'm tapping the screen to kind of look over the schedule right here. But here's our first 8 games. I'll break kind of out who's playing what where at home. So week 1 at home, the banner's going to go up. They play the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens. So this is an interesting one to me. Obviously, the Ravens a lot on defense. The Chiefs have great success versus the Baltimore Ravens. But the Kansas City Chiefs may be still figuring out some wide receiver stuff by this time. They may actually be figuring out who's going to be the top guy, trying to get through that offense, trying to kind of navigate through that. That's why you don't really see the offense mess the first 4 to 5 weeks. I'm not going to lie to you. TPT Nation. I have the Chiefs losing this game week 1. And you guys may be sitting there going, what? There's no way you have them sitting there losing week 1. The banner's going up, and they always have great success with the Ravens. They beat them 4 times out of 5. Patrick Mahomes dominates versus the Ravens. I have the Ravens winning this one. I don't think we're going to be able to mesh right away on offense, even though I have great hope for our offense. But I think it's the revenge aspect. The banner's going to kind of be putting up. We're going to be kind of, we may be a little juiced up, but we're going to be kind of in that kind of like feeling good mode with the banner going up. We're champions, this, that, and the other. And they're coming in wanting to be the spoils. They want to spoil our dinner, 100%. They want to be sour milk. They're going to come out hard. I think Derrick Henry has a good game. I do not have the Chiefs winning week 1 in Baltimore on September 5th, 7 o'clock at home. Week 2. Week 2, guys. The return of Burrow. Oh, no. So this return of Burrow. I should be so worried about the return of Joe Burrow. Chiefs win this game. Just going to say it. Chiefs win this game versus the Bengals. I don't think they win convincingly, but I think the Chiefs win where they controlled the game the entire time. They only may win by like 7, but they're going to control this game. There's not really too many guys on the Bengals, and we still don't know. Listen, they have two guys that are probably top 5 guys on their roster, top 3 guys on their roster, or 4 or 5. The 4 and 5th best players on their roster are both requesting trades off that team. So we don't even know if they're going to be there at this game. So there's a chance they're not even playing with the Bengals by this game rolls around. But I have the Chiefs winning. The Chiefs have figured out the Bengals. Joe Burrow, his health is going to be a question, 100%. His health is going to be a question. So I don't know if he's going to come back fully healthy. This is a new Chiefs defense that he's going to have to deal with. And the last 2 times we've seen him play the Chiefs, he has not had a great game. Or I should say the last time we've seen him play the Chiefs, he did not have a good game. So I think Spags will be all over him. Yeah, we don't have L'Jarius Sneed to lock up Jamar Chase, but I think McDuffie will do a great job on that. So I think they win that game at home to get their first win of the season. Then we move to week 3, another night game. Another night game, Atlanta versus Kansas City. You know, you got Kirk Cousins, the whole Michael Penix thing. You got all the boys in Atlanta that are coming in this year, and they want to be that new up-and-coming team. And I think they will be ready for it. I think this will be a very, very good game. I think this is going to be a Butker game. I think this is going to come down to my man Harrison Butker, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. I think the Chiefs win that. That brings them to 2-1. Then they go week 4 to LA. So they just played back-to-back road games at a 3:25 kickoff, September 29th, week 4, versus the Chargers. Do I have to say more about the Chargers? They're going to beat the Chargers. What is a threat on the Chargers the Chiefs should be worried about? Legitimately. So that'll give them their 3rd win on the season. Not much the Chargers. Then they go week 5 back to Kansas City on another night game. So they have 3 night games out of the first 5 weeks. And they have no 1 o'clock games out of their first 5 weeks. Kansas City Chiefs play 7:15 in Arrowhead versus New Orleans. I don't really know why this is a big night game. I don't really think the Saints are going to be a team that's a top-tier team, maybe a 7-8 win team. But guess what? I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I think Who Dat is going to come out and ball out. I think this is going to be a very close game until the 4th quarter, and all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes makes a big play and Derek Carr doesn't. Who knows? Maybe even Spencer Rattler. But yeah, I think the Chiefs come out, they win that game, and they move to 4-1 on the season. Now the Chiefs go into their bye week. Which I will say is a good thing, because after their bye week, they play the San Francisco 49ers on October 20th in San Fran at 3:25. And a lot of people have been saying to me, oh, the Chiefs are going to win that game because Andy Reid never loses after a bye week. Especially, he's never lost on a bye week with the 49ers. We've seen the last 2 Super Bowls he's won versus the 49ers. Or 2 out of the last 3 Super Bowls he's won versus the 49ers after a bye week. But the Chiefs will get their 2nd loss of the season in this game. The revenge will be all out. They'll be at home. 49ers will be ready for the challenge. I would love for the Chiefs to win this game, and I think this is one of the games I really leaned way more Chiefs, but I do think the 49ers get this win, and that brings the Chiefs right now to 4-2. 4-2 by week 7. I do think they win these games. So 4-2 by week 7. Week 8, and this will be one of my last games that I have one of the last 2 games I have is the Oakland Raiders the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas. Can't take the Raiders. You can take the Raiders out of Oakland, but you can't take the Oakland out of the Raiders, because this will be an easy win. I don't think that the Raiders have really anybody in this division that will remotely compete with the Chiefs. Then we have week 9 versus Tampa. This is a game I wish was in Tampa Bay, because I'm an Orlando guy. I could go watch them play. So I think they win that one. And then they play the Denver Broncos, where my guy Zach will take over on Week 10 versus Denver Broncos. Week 10 or Week 9, you'll see in the next slide where he takes over. My official record prediction is the Chiefs win 12 games and they lose 5. Those teams I have being the Ravens, 49ers, Browns, Houston Texans. Is that 5? Ravens, 49ers, Browns. Oh, and then I have them losing to the Broncos Week 18 because I think their starters are going to be rested with the first seed in the AFC. So there you go. I have the Broncos. I have the Ravens. I have the Browns. I have the Texans. And then I have the San Francisco 49ers. There's a chance that probably they beat one of those teams and they only lose 4 games. They go 13-4. That's much more likely they do. But yeah, I have them their last game of the season versus the Broncos being a loss just because they'll probably be resting guys and Carson Wentz will play, which they still could probably end up winning with Carson Wentz. But yeah, that'll do it, guys. I have them going 13-3. And those are some of my reasons why. Next time me and Zach get on here, we'll have some of our more reasons why the team's going to be like that. Because there's a lot going on in Kansas City. You have Rashid Rice, who's going to miss every single game probably, all the way up to the Oakland Raiders. But he'll play from the Buccaneers on. Who knows? He could only be out for the first 6 weeks, and then he only misses the 49ers game. He misses the Ravens to the 49ers game. That's a lot more likely. But yeah, you have, the Chiefs have kind of had a weird offseason. You have Wandale Moore, who just got arrested for possession of marijuana in Kansas. You have Rashid Rice with 2 types of scandals hitting a photographer, even though that one I think got debunked. But definitely having a situation at the highway in Dallas, not good. So yeah, he'll get suspended. You still have Hollywood Brown. You still have a lot of playmakers. And then there's the whole Harrison Butker situation. Everyone needs to stop about Harrison Butker. My thing about Butker is this. As I straighten my shirt here, Butker is a Catholic. And Butker went to a Catholic college and preached Catholic values to Catholic students. I didn't have a problem with it. He called out the president, of course. If he's not a fan of the president, I can't really sit here and blame him and say, oh, how you dare you do this, how you dare you do that. So for me, Harrison Butker, I don't really see the problem with a lot of people, a lot of what he said. And if you did, I'm sorry for that. That's your own personal opinion. But he said his personal opinion. So yeah, that was kind of our overlook of the schedule, guys. We will have more about the schedule, what's going to happen. We may have a whole new different prediction. The Chiefs win more games or less games, depending on what happens after training camp. Get ready for Zach right now on the TPT podcast for week 9 to 10 through week 18. I will see you guys next time, and here comes Zach.
Oh, welcome into my half of this week's TPT Chiefs Football podcast, where we will be going over the second half of the Chiefs schedule and giving score predictions. I'm your host, Zach Story, for this half of the episode. As you watched, Jaden gave his first half of the season predictions, and I don't know what they are because we're recording separately. And I made it a point, I didn't want to ask him what his predictions were because then I might play off of that. I want it to be like a nice, happy combination of both of ours. And so I imagine he has us going 6-2. That's a nice middle ground for the teams we're playing. I'd assume we have a loss in the first 2 weeks based off his predictions, and then probably loss to San Francisco just because it's on the road and we normally don't beat the team that we play in the Super Bowl the year before. And so I'd say he had us going 6-2, but again, I don't know. I'm starting off with week 10 against Denver at home. And first I want to just tell you about how I rationalize this. So I don't just choose who I think is going to win, because then the Chiefs would win every game because we should be favored in every game other than maybe the Niners game. And so in that case, we would just go 16-1. But of course, we know that's not how it works. We take losses to teams like the Colts and the Titans all the time. And so I kind of do it as an average. So if I see 2 tough games against teams that could beat us, I will probably give us 1 win out of those 2 games. Have us go 1-1. And I will just choose randomly which team Not really randomly, but which team I think has the better chance of beating us. And so, luckily, though, I have the easier half of the schedule, I'd say. Because having Cincinnati, Baltimore, San Francisco, that's in Atlanta as well. That's pretty tough. And so, mine starts off with Denver in Week 10. And this one is probably the easiest one I'll have, other than the Panthers game. I'm going to say we win this game against Denver at home. A noon game. I'm going to say we win 28-14. That's my score prediction for that game. Rationale, I mean, this Bo Nix team is not going to be very good. And it's us at home. We take care of the Broncos even when they're better than this. And so that should be an easy one. Next week is Week 11 at Buffalo. And I also have this as a win. Because I feel like Buffalo's defense towards the end of last year, where they were banged up, is more similar to their real defense this year than it is the defense they had in prior years where everyone was healthy. Because even though they're going to be healthy again, maybe they'll be healthy again, they lost a lot of talent, and they replaced it with some young guys, and they re-signed some of their guys, but a lot of their talent is just out the door. Trey White's out. Jordan Poyer's out. I believe Micah Hyde is out, and there's more. So Buffalo does not scare me this year. Also, they have no receivers. If you think Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel is going to allow you to have the offense you've had in prior years with Stephon Diggs, that's just not going to happen. And so I don't see the Bills as I see them as a wild card team, maybe a 7 seed, honestly, because I see the Jets as the best team in that division this year. And so I'm going to say we beat Buffalo on the road. I'm going to say we beat them 23-19. Still a close game because, it's Buffalo, and Josh Allen will get points by himself. And so that's my 23-13 against the Bills in Week 11. Then we move on to Week 12. We go to Carolina to play. And this is a no-brainer. I'm not even going to consider us losing here. I'd say we beat Carolina. I'd say we beat them 37-10. 37-10. I like that. Now their offense is probably going to be better than it was last year. An improved quarterback, probably year 2 Bryce Young compared to year 1. Their O-line, they have some guys. They're not going to be the worst O-line in the league. Xavier Legette they drafted. They drafted Jonathan Brooks out of Texas, the running back, who is much more dynamic than Miles Sanders. It's a terrible contract for Miles Sanders. And just overall, I mean, they still have Adam Thielen, I believe. Another year for Jonathan Mingo, if he's going to be any good. Probably not. But, just they'll be better than they were last year. And so I'll give them, did I say 37-10? I'll give them 10 points against this Chiefs defense. Week 13 was against the Oakland Raiders at home. And the reason why I'm chalking this in as a win, and we're 4-0 to start the second half of the season from my predictions, is because we got embarrassed by them on Christmas at home last year. And I remember last time we lost to the Raiders at home and they drove around the parking lot. The next year we killed them. We demolished them. It was not even close. Within the first quarter, it was not even a game. And so that's what we're going to do again. They're better than they were last year, but I think we're also going to be better than we were last year. And so I'm going to say we beat the Raiders. I'm going to say they have a good defense. I'm going to give them 24 to 16. We beat the Raiders by 8. Probably cover whatever that spread's going to be. And then we move on to another divisional home game on Sunday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. And this I have as a win as well because Chargers are not very good. Now, I do think they had a good draft. They had a great draft. I talked about this. They got Joe Alt, so they have 2 cornerstone tackles. That's a huge, benefit to have. They drafted McConkey, who's gonna be able to produce. Probably be a slot. Probably take over what Keenan Allen had, as far as their slot receiver goes. And then they also drafted Junior Colson out of Michigan, who can lead that defense a lot better than Kenneth Murray has been for the last 3 years. And so I see them as a good offseason, but not ready yet because they still got rid of their 2 best pass catchers. They still don't have good pass catchers because the jury's still out on McConkey, and chances are Quentin Johnston's no good. And so I don't see them as a threat to beat us at home in primetime. And also Herbert hasn't looked as good as he did his first couple years, these last 2 years. And so that's my rationale for that one. Looks like we're 5-0 so far. So let's say Jaden did have us going 6-2. Right now we're 11-2, which is a great spot to be in this conference, especially considering our biggest threats in the conference are in the toughest division against each other with Cincinnati, Baltimore, and I do see the Jets and Texans as up there, but they'll in the regular season they'll take some losses. A young quarterback on one, and then the Jets on the other. So, and then next we have Week 15. We're on the road against Cleveland. This is my first loss that I'm giving us. Cleveland, of course, has a great defense. They have a nasty pass rush. Myles Garrett is a game wrecker. And their offense, by that time, I don't know how it's going to look because it seems like it never looks how we think it's going to. I mean, we thought we were going to have Deshaun Watson. Joe Flacco comes in and plays about as good as Deshaun Watson has played. But next year, we'll probably have Deshaun Watson again. They have 3 backups that are capable of playing. Not being great starters, but they have 3 backups that can play. So if anything happens to him, it will look a lot like last year. But then we'll also have Nick Chubb back. If he looks anything like he has throughout his career, that's a huge bonus on top of a Jerome Ford. And they got Jerry Jeudy to team up with Amari Cooper. And they're just a really good team. And I see this as a road game late in the winter, December 15th. It could be crazy weather and Nick Chubb just runs all over us. That could happen. And so even though I would pick us over them, I'm going to give us this loss, considering we're 5-0 up to this point. And then the next week is Week 16 against Houston, the Texans. It's a Saturday game. And I'm putting this as a loss as well. It's at home, and we really don't play better at home. So I don't want to give us a fake advantage when in the Mahomes era, I'm fairly sure that we have a better record at home. I mean, on the road than at home. Because I think all the big losses I remember were at home. All the big regular season losses that I can still haunt my dreams happened at home. And so this team with C.J. Stroud and all their weapons that they have and an improved defense with the defensive head coach, I mean, they're going to be really good. And so I think it's fair. They get us. Maybe we're not in a great spot in our season, taking losses back to back, and I could see us as vulnerable in that spot. And then we have another game just 4 days later against the Steelers. Sorry, I'm itchy. I had a surgery, so I'm numb, so I can't really feel it, but it still itches. Against the Steelers on Christmas, and I have this as a win. I do think the Steelers are going to be good. I do think Russell Wilson is going to be good, and their defense is always good. And I see them as a playoff team. I just do. I don't look at their team and see many deficiencies outside of their passing game. I mean, their run game I thought was weak, but then when they started giving Jalen Warren more touches, their O-line started to really develop last year. And Najee Harris even started to produce with some efficiency last year. And so I see them as a playoff team, but I see us winning on Christmas, not taking the Christmas L back-to-back years. And it's also on the road. So Mahomes and company, they're not going to be home on Christmas. So they're not going to want to take a loss. That would make it the worst Christmas ever because they couldn't even go home after that. And then the final game of the year is the Broncos game on the road at Mile High. I feel like we end the season at Mile High a lot. But I do see this as a win because of the fact that we took those 2 losses to the Browns and the Texans, and we probably won't be able to rest our starters at this point. Now, normally we're able to, rest our starters in the last week and go in with an extra bye week. But I mean, even last year when we had the 3 seed, we were able to do that against the Chargers. But I don't see a way that, let's say Jaden had his taken 2 losses. I don't think we could end with the 1 seed with a 12-5 record. And so I see us needing to go to Denver and take care of business. And I see us doing it in easy fashion because this team is probably going to be trash. Like that. Our division is weak, and that's a blessing because, especially with this Rashee Rice stuff, we might not be full strength all year. Omenahu probably coming back mid-season. I mean, we're not really at full strength, at least to start the year. And so having a weak division really kind of takes some of that pressure off. We don't need to be full strength to go 6-0 in this division. And I have us going probably 6-0. So I don't know what Jaden has. Now he is the voice of the first half, so I can't really contradict anything he says. But I would have us going 6-0. And we'll see what our records are together once we stitch these two videos together. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of the TPT Chiefs Football Podcast. I had fun going over the schedule. I would be very satisfied with 13-4, considering last year we couldn't get it done, and then the year before I believe we were 14-3, and we had the best record in the conference, which made this whole playoff Super Bowl winning thing a whole lot easier. So I would much rather not have to go through the pains of last year and the absolute shambles of the regular season last year. All right, y'all have a great week, and we'll be back next week to talk about some more Chiefs.